dry. My head was ringing like temple bells. I felt that tired old ache from the wound that ended my time in the order. That pain would warrant two things. The storm was coming, trouble. I walked over to the window, looking out as the rain fell hard on the streets that could never get cleaned. And how could they? No one and nothing in this city was clean. The Empire controlled everything officially, but this far down, they couldn't be bothered. My days of serving the force and protecting the balance were over. Now I was happy to serve anyone who would pay enough to keep a roof over my head. He said his name was Cal. He'd come from the Outer Rim looking for his big brother Magnus, who ran off 2 years ago with dreams of being a singer in the big city. Mother's sick, father's dead, and the farm's deep in debt. He cried. He was a sucker for tears. He handed over a data card with Magnus' info and asked if I could keep this investigation quiet. He said any sign of trouble would mean a Hunt's henchman at his door. I told him I'm nothing but discreet. It didn't take long to track him down, singing in a cantina called the Blue Bantha. The Bantha was the property of Shah Fulan, local boss of the Scorpio Syndicate. Off-world, Scorpio was small-time, but here things were different, and she was the reason why. Fulan knew how to attract the best the Undercity had to offer to her place. Everyone here was one of the usual suspects, except him. I couldn't take my eyes off him. His eyes and smooth head had the bearing of a man looking for trouble, not applause. He also had a set of golden pipes that made me forget for a moment why I came. I kept telling myself to look away, telling myself that whatever else he might be, he was Fulan's. Fulan was the most ruthless syndicate boss Coruscant had ever given birth to. If she regarded something as hers, not even the sun itself would dare take it away. So it was no surprise that Fulan did not take kindly to a stranger making eyes at her newest trophy, and sent some muscle to teach me a lesson. He asked if I was okay, and I scoffed. I had worse. He helped me up, and as he took my hand, it was like the dirt and grime of this city just disappeared, washed away. I felt something, and I was sure he did too. I figured now was as good a time as any to ask him about his brother. Guess there was never going to be a good time. Just then, the boss's goons showed up to call Magnus in for his next set. It can never be said that I'm not willing to take a punch or two for a job, and I try never to get punched by the same set of fists twice in one night. I let him go, for now. Charming and cute. That's what they used to call me growing up. What a cute kid. He's gonna grow up to be such a looker. I knew it too. As I got older, I figured out how I could work those traits on the people around me to get what I wanted. And I wanted out. So the first chance I got, I took off. You always hear about the bright lights of a big city. I didn't find any of those. Instead, I found Jin Fei. She gave me food and a place to stay. She recognized my skills and the fact that I didn't have 2 credits to my name. She explained she could set me up with some dames for an evening. I could use my gifts to convince them to lavish me with gifts and cash. Fei takes her cut, I get to keep the rest. Every now and again, she'd set me up with someone I wasn't good enough to nudge. Sometimes they figured out the game. Sometimes that meant I got hurt, but Fei kept reminding me how grateful I should be. Never mind that she'd charge me for room and board at a rate I'd never be able to pay back. Until the day she showed up on my corner. She asked me my name, and I gave it to her. She asked me how business had been, and it was then I knew the score. She was with the CSF, the dirtiest police force on the planet. Every time someone woke up with an empty wallet, there was a chance they'd file a report, but a few credits in the right hands made those reports disappear. It's how these things worked. I asked her how much she wanted. She gave me a number 3 times more than anyone else had asked. I tried to use my talents to nudge her to a lower number. I guess she wasn't as weak as she looked. I tried to walk away, but she persisted. She had debts of her own, and desperate times called for desperate measures. She drew a lightsaber. The Undercity is big on survival of the fittest. She was good. I was better. She'd have to find another way to pay her debts. Maybe the time was coming for me to get out of the Undercity. There are two types of creatures that spend their lives searching through the gutter. Rodents and journalists, both on the search for their livelihood. But while the rodents spend their time in the city's trash scouring for food, the journalist looks for something much more valuable. For information. For a story. It's the only reason I stayed down here with the trash and the sewage. I've been making my name on the holonet as the newest muckraker. What set me apart was a sense of right and wrong. It's not something many people have anymore. That's how I got caught in the middle of a story about a trinket coveted by powerful people. Jack had been the significant other to the head of the Swift Wind Syndicate. He said he wanted me to tell his story. Said it was the only way to stop what was going to happen. He tells me a story about two folks who visited him and his big-time lady. Says she saved him by sending him to another room. He tells me about a chubby little bird statue they'd imported from a world that was home to the first Jedi. Now that they were gone, it was worth a small fortune. Truth is, the heist was nothing more than a cover for bumping off his lady. I tell him, nobody's going to bat an eye at one mob boss being bumped off by another. I start to walk away. If I was going to put a target on my back for the syndicates, I was going to do it for a story that would take them all down. I made him one final offer.
Go on the record. Tell me every secret and you won't end up on the front page. Promise.
It wasn't an empty offer. We both knew it. But he made his choice. One way or another, this was going to be in the headlines. Like I said, there are two types of creatures that spend their lives searching through the gutter. But while the rodent never fails to sniff out food among the waste, sometimes the journalist passes over the story of a lifetime for the hope of a bigger score. Two nights had come and gone, and Magnus hadn't returned for an encore performance. He'd become a ghost, vanished like smoke in the wind. So imagine my surprise when he strolled through the door of the dump I call an office. He looked like somebody had given him the once-over. He said that it was because of me. Sharfulon knew me, and if I was coming around sniffing after one of her pieces of arm candy, it must mean the candy was poison. He told me he wanted to go home, back to the moisture farm. The only hitch was that he hadn't made the fortune he'd hoped. If he went back now, the Huds would take the farm. He cried. I wiped away his tears. Like I said before, I'm a sucker for tears. Hard concrete. That's the first thing that went through my head as I came back to consciousness, just before everything else went through my head, if everything else was blinded by searing pain. My eyes wouldn't open and everything behind them was white, throbbing heat. I felt warm stickiness. Blood. There was no mistaking it. My other hand was heavy. I was holding something. I forced myself to open my eyes and instantly regretted it. My field of vision was filled with the dead eyes of my partner, Hera. That got me up real fast. I launched myself to my feet, staggered, and fell back to my knees, and finally saw what was in my hand. A lightsaber. We use them sometimes when the boss ordered it, but this wasn't mine. Held in a hand, connected to an arm, clothed in a set of robes I didn't own, I looked down at myself and saw I was dressed like one of those relics of the Old Republic. I looked back at the saber, and terrified of what I would see, I flipped the switch. The room was suddenly aglow in red. This thing belonged to an Inquisitor. And my partner, lying dead on the floor, her wounds, those were lightsaber wounds from this lightsaber. Suddenly I heard a voice in the hallway. Cops. And here I was, literally red-handed. I could try to convince them, but even if they believed I didn't kill her, Imperial policy was to shoot Jedi dead on sight. A Jedi holding a lightsaber that belonged to a dead Inquisitor? Double dead. A pounding on the door, and then she forced her way in. I knew her. While she wasn't exactly a regular of the Blue Bantha, she was there enough to know me on sight. This one knew her stuff, and she'd know I wasn't a Jedi the moment she looked me over. She took in the entire room in less than a heartbeat and had her lightsaber lit before I could open my mouth. It's not what it looks like, I said, but it was clear she didn't care. This was a setup. The body, the cop, everything. Somebody set me up to take a fall. I just had to live long enough to figure out who it was. She had me there, the lightsaber humming no more than a couple of inches from my face. I was dead to rights and I knew it. I waited. It never came. She'd come up to her line, the line she couldn't cross and needed to decide if she would. We all have them. Innocent blood was hers and I had to respect her for it. I saved her the choice. It was a sucker punch, sure, but she'd get to think it over and I'd get the time to figure out who set me up. They say the Force binds the universe together. Down here, I'm the Force. Crimson Dawn, Black Sun, Scorpia, all the syndicates. They come to me when they need something. You need death sticks? I'll get them for you. Sleeves? You'll have them by the weekend. I hold all the keys to the kingdom. There's not a password I don't know, not a key I don't have a copy of. I don't take anything from the ones that pay, and no one, and I mean no one, takes what's mine. So the last thing I expect to find is some mystery mook trash in my office. Barely fits my desk and safe, but it's mine. He's as big as a Wookiee, but he's clearly no moron. He hasn't touched the cache, but the paper records are everywhere. The data disks, dumped. A small-timer looking for a payout I could tolerate, but someone looking to take my secrets? That's not something I can abide. He grabs me, demands to know where the passwords to the Blue Bantha are. I reach into my pocket and show him. I always keep my best secrets close to the vest. He makes a grab for it, and I get him with a cheap shot. Nobody's fingers are faster than mine, and nobody's better at teaching big dumb animals that the food chain down here doesn't favor the lumbering type. I start to clean up, but can't shake the feeling that something's up. I check my pocket, and sure enough, it's gone. It won't matter, though. I'll catch up to him, because he can't see the Force, but it's always there. Seemed strange, drinking at the cantina owned and operated by the same syndicate that killed your lady, but that's how it is. I sidle up to the bar and order a drink, as if on cue. Fulan enters carrying her new prize statue. Stupid little thing. Before my drink arrives, he sidles up to the bar next to me. He wore his confidence like a tailored suit, but that wouldn't stop time from grinding away at him. It grinds away at all of us. We strike up a conversation. We talk like old pals who came through on the other side of a war and now sit reminiscing about old victories and themes they wined and dined. I order us another round and he tells me how he's been working for that slime bag Jim Fay and how he needs to get out. I tell him we're all trying to get out. That's when he waved his fingers at me and said,
"You want to help me get out?"
I went for my wallet. I nearly had it out of my pocket when I realized what he'd done. I grabbed him and pulled him outside. He didn't wait for me to say a word. I guess he thought my next move was to rough him up. He pulled a lightsaber. I didn't have much choice but to do the same. I felt like scrapping with my buddies as a kid, back before I drank with people who had my name on a hit list. I asked him if he really wanted to get out, and then we talked about how I'd help him make it happen. This was how it was for me, but maybe it didn't have to be that way for him. Over the next few days, we stole every moment we could. I told him about my past. He told me his hopes and dreams. Dreams that would blow apart like ash in the wind if he and his brother didn't come across some money, and fast. That's when he told me about it. Something that Fulon had stolen from the boss of the Swift Wind Syndicate. Something she kept in a safe with encryptions to rival Imperial security. Lucky for him, I had a couple codebreaker tools I'd kept from my days with the Jedi. And against my better judgment, I offered to help. We decided to act the next night, when the big pod race would have all eyes on the betting pool, not the boss's office. We'd move fast and get out clean. He wanted me to go with him. Put down the bottle, wipe the slate clean, and settle down. Call me crazy, but I've got a good feeling about this. Everyone always tells stories about where they grew up, the good times and the hard times. But secretly, once you get out, if you get out, you never want to get back in. But the underlevels are like a black hole. Of the few lucky enough to get out, most find themselves pulled back in. I was one of the lucky ones. I got out. Most of the kids I knew growing up never did. I got into the Coruscant Security Force Academy and rose up the ranks with the light of the sun I'd never known. After the Empire began, a rash of turf wars between the syndicates had them move me back down where the only light is a cold neon glow. I did my damnedest for a long time to keep these streets clean, but eventually I realized that the streets weren't any cleaner. I just got dirtier. It was when I was dirty enough that the locals stopped caring that I was a cop, that I found my best friend. No, my sister had become just another syndicate hired goon. We scratch each other's backs. I'd look the other way when she needed it. She'd give me gossip about the competition. The streets got a little safer without hurting her boss's bottom line. It was like the good old days were back, but all grown up. Gradually, the line moved. It wasn't until I nearly got my hands bloody that I hesitated. It was just for a second, but it made me wonder if I'd stared into the void too long. Soon after, my friend came knocking. She needed me to provide police patrol routes and speeder numbers. Once the syndicates brought down our numbers a little, they'd have free rein to settle things amongst themselves. I told her I couldn't. I was willing to look the other way, but I wasn't going to toss any of my fellow Johns to the firing squad. She reminded me of the good old days. Said we were more than friends. We were family, and you didn't let family down. I looked her in the eyes. Maybe she'd changed. Maybe I had. Either way, I couldn't do what she wanted. There seemed to be only one choice left.
she didn't. Turns out the fact that I came back didn't matter. Even among the filth and the sewage, I'd seen the light. Once you see it, you never forget it.
They always describe hope as a ray of light. It's like a sunbeam that comes in through a crack in the wall. But there was no hope down here. Down here, the only light you see is the neon glow of all the nightclubs and the flashing red and blue on the police speeders. So it comes as a surprise when one of my prized puffer pigs comes telling me he's going to pay off his debt and get out. He tells me he's got money. I know how much he makes, so I quote him a figure I know he could never afford. He pulls out a credit chip, tells me he went and got himself a backer. I tell him the chip's no good. He promises the money's good, I just need to check the chip. I take it and smash it under my boot. He gets angry and draws a lightsaber, but I don't need one to show him who's in charge. If I let him go, others will try to follow. You don't get out of the bottom down here. There's no crack in the wall. There's no light. There's just the way things are. The syndicates run on the balance of trust and fear. You trust the other guy to do his job. He's afraid that if he doesn't, that'll be the end of him. My partner was dead, and I was the fall guy. The fact that I didn't do it was irrelevant. Finding who done it was normally about finding who stood to gain. But nobody gained from rubbing me out. Knock me off and any Han, Dick, or Lando could take my place. The Cold War was going to turn hot after Fulon had us bump off the head of Swiftwind. Whoever killed Hera probably did her a mercy. There's no retirement plan for the syndicates other than being on the wrong end of a blaster. That's when it hits me. I wait at the spaceport for almost 2 days. She looks me in the eye and tells me I would have done the same. She said she had to pin it on somebody because there's no way out of this life but a body bag. I tell her that's all well and good, but if the only way out is a body bag, I'd better do what she already made everyone think I did. She lays there. She tells me she's sorry. She says she should have trusted me. She gives me her ticket. She says at least one of us should get out. I take it. We're not even, but at least she left things a little more balanced.
Some people will tell you that down here it's dog eat dog. Let me tell you, those people are small time. If you want to get to the big time, you find someone and you stay loyal until the chance comes to take their spot. That's when you find out who has your back and who's just waiting to stab it. I took a chance on a singer, but he had a problem. He wasn't loyal. I tell Magnus I know all about him and the Detective Dane. I tell him it has to end. I take out my newest trophy and I explain to him how if someone else had this little porg, it would be worthless. But in my hands, it's priceless. I ask him if he understands. He nods. I tell him to go clean himself up. The pod race will be starting soon. He leaves, and I stare at that fat little bird. That's when someone I'd never seen before stepped into my office. He didn't page his way in, so he must have had a code. He told me to hand over the statue. I laughed at him. I told him if he wanted it, he was going to have to kill me. He told me that was the idea.
Bottom. They're just two sides of the same trap. A trap all the credits in the world can't buy you out of. When you've spent your life waiting to stab everyone else in the back, you realize that's all everyone is waiting to do for you. And when you need someone to watch your back, you realize you're alone, and you always were. He was waiting in the back alley of the cantina when I ran out. The whole thing had gone sideways. Fulon was dead when I got there, stabbed through the chest with a lightsaber. Conveniently, security walked on me and the boss. I had to fight my way out. Just like that, all those dreams blew away. I rushed over to him and hugged him, told him how sorry I was. That's when I felt a presence I hadn't expected. Magnus's brother Cal stepped out of the darkness, the lightsaber in his hand. I turned to face him, my lightsaber drawn. He laughed as Magnus pulled his saber and leveled it at me. I was set up. Cal told me that he and his brother had been trying to get their hands on the Maltese port for months. They thought they had it a few times, but there was no clean heist. They needed a fall guy. That's where I came in. A drunk PI who had nobody. It wouldn't be a stretch to think I'd decided to make it rich. Let me be seen at the scene to leave no doubt. The story writes itself. I closed my eyes and waited for the big sleep when I felt Magnus move away. He told Cal he couldn't do it. Somewhere along the line, the love act had stopped being an act. He'd fallen for the same dame he was setting up. Cal told him he had to choose. A life rolling in dough from the big score, or one on the run without a dime between them. Sometimes life surprises you.
He wraps his arms around me and tells me he's sorry. He says he'd rather spend a penniless life with me than a wealthy one, regretting his choice. We leave Cal in the statue. It was a tacky little thing anyway. And besides, we found something worth a lot more.